Responsibilities. Coaches need to give equal opportunities, which is having the state of being equal, especially in status, rights, or opportunities. This can be either through their disability, race, religion, or gender, etc. It's good because it gives different people a chance to be equally treated. For example, at Lewes Football Club, women and men are paid the same amount for the same job that they do. However, in contrast, there are a lot of stereotypes concerning gender and inequality, what sports each of them should play. For example, there's a stereotype that girls shouldn't play football, for example. Also, there are arguments that women should be paid the same prize money as men, but they don't have to play as many sets as men. For example, at Wimbledon, the prize money is different, even though men have to play 5 sets rather than the women playing 3. Next is the legal aspect, as coaches need to have a lot of legal requirements when working with children, and they have a responsibility to abide by the Children Act of 2004, which is not giving any physical, verbal, sexual, emotional or neglect abuse to the people they're coaching. They also have a higher duty of care depending on the people they are coaching. So if it was a disabled team, then they would have a higher duty to be more careful, as they might be more easily injured or have a very threatening problem to do with their disability. However, there's a lot of governing bodies to keep all the legal aspects in place. It's also recommended not to travel with coaches to games for their own protection, as it's against one of the laws. It's not against one of the laws. It's just for their own protection. Thirdly, a coach needs to be professional to gain their players' trust, so they will always also trust them. It could also depend on if they are a volunteer or a paid professional coach, as you would expect a high level of professionalism when coaching, when having a paid coach. But if they're a volunteer, they may expect a bit less, as they're not as experienced or skilled, and you're not paying them. They're just doing it as they're a player's mum or dad. For example, a coach of a lacrosse team, if they were paid and didn't turn up on time, then the team would maybe not as interested or listen to them as much, as they don't respect them because they were late, and they're getting paid as well. Important things for a good coach in sport like cricket is that they look like a cricket coach, so turn up in cricket whites or in a tracksuit, so their appearance. They're also good communicators, and they know a lot about the players' strengths and weaknesses and their knowledge of the sport. They also have to be punctual and prepared to coach the team. So they got to be prepared. Finally, another responsibility is health and safety of the people they're coaching, of making sure the area they're playing in is appropriate and safe. For example, in hockey, the team may be at a new AstroTurf, and the coach will need to check the surface and do a risk assessment, where you identify hazards or risks that have the potential to cause harm. The coach also needs to base their session safely. So to begin with, in a sport like rugby, they need to make sure they do a good warm-up to avoid any injuries, and also get everyone to take their jewellery off before they start, in case you clip someone and obviously scratch them. Finally, they need to safely finish off the session with a cool down, and in netball the coach will evaluate the area and equipment and adjust the risk assessment if something wasn't previously noticed in the first risk assessment. The skills of a coach. A coach needs to be a good communicator, firstly, and can communicate with a range of people like the players, other coaches, officials, parents, and if it is of a high level, then the media would be one of the people they need to communicate with. For example, a coach in cricket will have to communicate to all aspects, like players, for what the batting order is, or helping them with their technique or something. Or they communicate with the umpire to check how many overs they're potentially playing, or maybe question a decision. Communication can come in different forms, verbal or non-verbal. For example, verbal communication may be speaking to the players in volleyball or listening to their opinions to help them improve, or also writing tactics down on a piece of paper, which is obviously writing. And then there's non-verbal, like maybe their facial expressions if they're disappointed, or their body language as well, because they may be, if they're losing, their body language might change, and for them if they're winning. Also in football, gestures are quite important in case you don't want to shout the instructions to your players in case the opposition hear and maybe change their formation to adapt to the change we're talking about. The coaches can give instructions, encouragement, feedback, safety instructions to their players in a sport like badminton, and this will help them in the future if it's constructive feedback and positive encouragement. The feedback's important, and it can be positive or negative, or concurrent, which is during the performance. So like a bit of advice about a shot, or terminal, which is after the activity, so maybe analysis or evaluation of their performance. Or in a very technical sport like archery, it could have special requirements and could be done on a one-to-one basis, as archery is quite a technical sport, so maybe demonstrating it could be important. They also need to be organised, so for a coach, organisation is very important, as a lot of things need organising before, during and after a session. So firstly, the equipment and the facilities in sport, like rounders where the bats and balls are needed, and also where the posts go. Also during, maybe in a tennis session, the drills could be done for different levels of ability, and also grouping like different groups of people together, and also after they need to make sure the facilities were the same as when they left, when they started. For organising groups, there may be different reasons for the groups, so like separating friendship groups to avoid them causing trouble or not taking the sport seriously. For a young age group, young age groups, please listen. Also, the equipment there may be some missing items in it, so the coach might have to improvise with an item instead, or change the group sizes if they haven't got enough netballs, for example, for every grouping, so they could make the group sizes larger. Finally, touched on it, it's problem solving. So for a coach, there may be some complicated decisions for them they have to make. Firstly, the player selection in a important game in rugby. So they want to win the game. This may upset some players that don't get picked, but usually this decision is based on their ability or their form, or maybe just their effort in general in previous games. They also need to make decisions on how they maybe defeat the opposition, so analysing their strategy and their key players, and stopping them from implementing their strategies to have the best chance of winning. They may also have to make some crucial decisions in in a short space of time and under pressure. So if a player got injured in a cup final, and so the coach would have to make a decision quickly about who's going to replace them. Also, like in organisation, there may be a problem with the equipment or the facilities, so they would need to solve the problem quickly and finding an alternative or changing a drill to fit the equipment or the requirements that the coach has available to them. Thanks.